Hey there, orchestra. In this video, we're going to go over how to identify key signatures. And by that I mean, if I say we're playing in the key of D major, you'll be able to tell me what sharps are in that key. Or if I show you a key signature that has 3 flats, you'll be able to tell me what the flats are. Before we can even get started, there's 2 pieces of information that we need to memorize. And that is the order of sharps and the order of flats. So when you see a key signature, they don't pick those sharps or flats at random. They go in a specific order. So let's start with the order of sharps. The sharps go like this: F, C, G, D, A, E, B. So if you were to see a key signature that had only 1 sharp in it, it would have to be the very first sharp, which is F. If you saw a key signature with 4 sharps, it would have to be the first 4 sharps in the order, which are F, C, G, and D. So to memorize this, it helps if you come up with a sentence. The sentence I like to use to memorize this is "Fat cats go dancing at Euclid Beach." Or you could come up with your own ridiculous saying that just helps you to memorize these notes in order. The order of flats is actually the order of sharps, just backwards, starting from B and going to F. So let's write that out. We have B, E, A, D, G, C, F. So if it's easier for you to memorize the order of flats, maybe especially because the first 4 letters of flats spell out the word bead, B-E-A-D, then you can just memorize this one instead and flip it around for the order of sharps. So when I first learned this, I learned bead, and then for the GCF, we always use the term greatest common factor in math class. I don't remember what a greatest common factor is anymore, but it's stuck in my head, so I remember the word bead, greatest common factor. Okay, so it's very important to memorize these because this is really going to help us when we start to talk about different key signatures. And for that, we're going to come over to the trusty circle of fifths. So you may have seen this before or maybe not. We're going to create a chart of all the key signatures. On the outside, it's going to say the key, and on the inside, it's going to tell you how many sharps or flats are in the key. That's why if we know our order of sharps and our order of flats, it'll be very useful. Sharps go on this side of the circle, and flats go on this side of the circle, starting right up at the top with our neutral key signature that has no sharps and no flats. That is C major. So we put C major at the top with 0 sharps and 0 flats. So that's another thing we just have to kind of memorize. C major has nothing in its key signature. Now we call it the circle of fifths. As we go around this way around the circle, we're going to count up a fifth, or up 5 notes from each key signature to get to the next one. So we're not just going to go in order of the alphabet around the circle, we're going to go up 5 notes every time. So to get to my next key over here on the sharp side, I'm going to count 5 notes up from C, starting on C. So I have C, D, E, F, G. Remember to include your starting note and your ending note in your counting. So G is my next key signature. Let's just fill in a couple of keys, and then we'll do the inside of the circle after. So going up 5 notes from G, I have G, A, B, C, D. D is my next key on this side. And let's just do one more for now. To get going from D, I have D, E, F, G, A. So now I have 3 key signatures on the sharp side of the circle over here. Okay, let's fill in a couple of keys on the flat side of the circle over here. Now we could count backwards by fifths, but it's a little difficult for me to count backwards through the alphabet. So I'm going to actually count up by a 4th. If I count backwards 5 notes or up 4 notes, it'll take me to the same note. So to get from C to our next key over here, I'm going to count up 4 notes: C, D, E, F. So that's our first flat key signature. And then from F, we have F, G, A, B. And then from B, we have B, C, D, E. So now we have 3 keys over here. And I'm just going to let you know that this B is a B flat and this E is an E flat. In fact, the only key signature on this flat side of the scale that doesn't have flat in the name is F, and we'll see why in just a second. Okay? Now on the inside of the circle, on this side here, our G major scale has just one sharp, and then we have 2 sharps, and then we have 3 sharps, and if we kept going, we'd have 4 sharps all the way up to 7 sharps. And then over here, we have 1 flat for F, and then we have 2 flats for B flat, and we have 3 flats for E flat. So let's go back over to our order of flats and see if we can figure out the key signature for these scales and our order of sharps to figure out these scales. Starting with this G scale. It's got 1 sharp in it. It's got to be F sharp. That's the first sharp in the order of sharps. All right, our D scale, it's got 2 sharps. It's got to be F and C. Then also our A scale, 3 sharps, F, G, and G. That's why if you have this memorized and you happen to have a circle of fifths or you know how to build one, this becomes very, very easy. Over on the flat side, F major scale has 1 flat. It's B flat. Okay, our B flat major scale, and this is why this is called B flat major, because we already have B flat starting from this scale. B flat major scale has 2 flats, B flat and E flat. You notice this E flat is going to be our next scale. So in our 3 flat scale, E flat, we have B flat, E flat, and A flat. Okay, so this is just one way that you can identify key signatures. If you were to see this on the page, so let's say we've got, I'm just going to do these in treble clef because it's a little easier for me. Let's see, we have a key signature that has 3 sharps in it. Well, then I can just come over to my circle of fifths and say, oh, this is 3 sharps, and it's got to be A major. Or I have a key signature that has 2 flats in it. I don't even have to sit here and like think, okay, well that's on the B line, and that's on the E space. I can just come over here and say, okay, 2 flats, it's got to be B flat major. All right? So if you don't want to use the circle of fifths, if you want to just be able to memorize all of these or figure them out really quickly on the spot, let's learn a couple of tricks. Memorize your order of sharps and flats. That's going to help you out greatly. If you know how this circle of fifths works, that will help you a whole lot. So just keep working on this, and eventually, like, the more you do it, the more you'll just kind of have them memorized, and you won't have to think about it so much. All right, that's how you identify key signatures. There's two different tricks we're going to use, one for sharp keys and one for flat keys. And so you need to know if you're dealing with a key signature that has sharps or flats in it. That's easy if you can see the key and you're just coming up with a name. But if you're starting with the name, remember, unless it's F major, all the flat keys are going to have flat in the name. So that'll help you figure out what you're dealing with and which shortcut to use. So if we're talking about a sharp key, I want you to think about the last sharp in a key signature, and then we're going to go up a half step from there. So I have a key signature here with 2 sharps in it, F sharp and C sharp. My last sharp in this key signature is C sharp. What's a note that's half a step higher than that C sharp? So here's C sharp. I go up a half a step, and I get to the note D. So this has to be D major. Okay, so what you just look at your last sharp, and you go up a half a step to get to the name of the key. So let's do a different one. Let's say I've got a key with 4 sharps in it. Again, your order of sharps becomes super useful. You know that the last sharp here is D, F, C, G, D, fat, cats, go, dancing. So you can't just pick one of these at random. It's got to be the last one. And if I go up half a step higher than D sharp, I get to the note E. This has to be E major. Okay? Let's say we want to go backwards. Let's say we have a name of a key, and we're going to do B major, So the trick works in reverse. What's half a step lower than B? Well, it's A sharp. So A sharp is going to now be our last sharp, and we just have to fill in all of the sharps before A. Again, super easy if you know your order of sharps. So we have fat, cats, go, dancing, at. So B major would have 5 sharps in it. All right, let's take a look at the trick for flat key signatures. Now, you got to be careful because this trick is sort of similar to the sharp trick, but it's also slightly different. Instead of looking at the last flat, we're going to look at the second to last flat. Second to last. So before, when we were saying, okay, just find the last sharp in the key signature and go up a half step from there, we're actually going to look at our second to last flat, and there's no half steps or anything required. That second to last flat is actually the name of the key. So let's start with B flat and E flat, a key that has 2 flats. Well, our second to last flat is this one right here, and so this one is B flat major. If you notice, when we were doing that circle of fifths, we had a scale that our one key signature ended with B flat, and the next one was called B flat, and then B flat ended with E flat, and the next scale was called E flat. So we kind of saw this happening when we were building up the circle of fifths. Let's add some more flats to this key signature. So let's do one that has 4 flats. So we know from our order of flats that spells out the word bead, B-E-A-D. Our second to last flat is A. So this key is A flat major. Let's do this in reverse. So if I say, okay, tell me what's in the key for E flat major, we're going to fill in all of the flats up to E flat. So we've got B flat and E flat, and then we're just going to go one more. Okay, let's do D flat major. So I'm going to fill in all of the flats up to D flat. So I have B, E, A, D, and I'm going to go one more, G flat. So that's how the flat key signature shortcut works. Make sure that you don't mix up these 2 tricks. So when we're talking about sharps, we just go half a step up from our last sharp, and for flat key signatures, our second to last flat is the name of the key. And if you